A single knock erased a year of my life. It was almost midnight. Rain traced slow lines down my apartment windows, and my living room was a battlefield of wedding checklists, seating chart, florist invoices, the final things-to-pack list Maya insisted every bride needed. My bachelorette was planned for the next night. Dinner, karaoke, a ridiculous crown Maya bought online. Peter was at his bachelor party tonight. "Just drinks," he'd promised, laughing as he left in a navy blazer. "I'm 46. I'm not about to do anything stupid." So when I heard the knock, I assumed it was him, locked out, tipsy, wanting one more kiss. I opened the door, smiling. Colin stood there instead. He was soaked, eyes glassy, the sharp edges of his perfect sun image softened by alcohol. The hallway light made his pupils look almost black. He smelled like whiskey and cologne, like he'd hugged every bottle in the bar. "Aurora," he said, dragging my name out like it belonged to him. My stomach tightened. "Where's Peter?" "Still at the bar," he said. "He'll be home late." He leaned on my doorway like he owned the space. "Why aren't you sleeping?" I tightened my grip on the door. "Why are you here?" Colin smiled, crooked, unsteady. Then he pulled out his phone and tilted the screen toward me. My breath caught. It was me. My face, my hair, my smile, under bright bar lights, dancing in a sparkly dress I'd never worn. Another swipe. Me leaning close to a man's ear, flushed and laughing. Another swipe. My arms raised, someone's hands at my waist. The images were disgustingly convincing. My freckles, the tiny scar near my jaw from falling off a bike at 9, even the way my hair curled at the ends when the air was damp. But I had never been there. I had never done any of it. "These aren't real," I whispered. "They can't be." Colin watched my face like he was studying a painting. "You don't like them?" "No," I said, voice thin. "Colin, listen. These are fake. Someone is trying to—" "I know," he said quietly. I blinked. You know?" He nodded, almost gentle. "I know you didn't do it." Relief hit me so hard my knees went weak. Until he added, calm as a doctor announcing a diagnosis, "But my father will believe them." The relief froze into something sharp. "He'll believe me," Colin continued, swaying slightly. "And he'll believe the photos. Not you? Don't you know that?" My mouth went dry. Peter had told me stories about his divorce, about Marianne's business trips, the hidden phone, the years of lies that made him question his own reality. He'd said it with a half smile, like he was trying to make it lighter than it was. But I'd seen the damage. Trust wasn't a concept to Peter, it was a scar. Colin knew exactly where to cut. "Where did you get those?" I asked, forcing the words out. "Made them," Colin said. The words slammed into my chest. "You did what?" He shrugged. "You post a lot. Gallery openings, cocktails, pretty selfies. It wasn't hard." Nausea rose in my throat. "Why?" I whispered. "What did I do to you?" Colin's gaze flicked over my face, then down to my mouth. "You showed up," he said. And suddenly my dad was glowing, like a teenager, like he didn't remember I exist unless he's telling you how proud he is of me. "That's not true," I snapped, but it came out shaky. Colin smiled. "Sure, keep believing that." I tried to steady myself. "Colin, I love your father. I'm not here for his money, I'm not—" "I know," he interrupted, and something raw flashed in his eyes. "I know you love him." My heart stuttered. "Then stop this." Colin stepped closer, and the hallway light caught the edge of his jaw, the same jawline Peter had. "I tried to hate you," he said. "I told myself you were a gold digger. A pretty mistake. It was easy to say, until it wasn't." My skin prickled. "Colin." He inhaled like he was bracing for impact. "From the first time I saw you, I couldn't stop thinking about you," he said. "You took my heart. I want you to be mine." The words landed like a slap. "You're drunk," I said quickly. "You're confused." "I'm not confused," he hissed, and then his face smoothed again, mask sliding back into place even in the rain. "Do you think my dad will believe you if you deny it?" He raised the phone. After I tell him you tried to kiss me? My vision narrowed. You wouldn't. Colin's smile widened. Wouldn't I? Fear buzzed behind my ears. I pictured Peter's face twisting into betrayal, that old wound ripping open. I pictured him looking at me the way he must have looked at Marianne when he found out. Colin saw the panic and leaned in, voice almost tender. There's only one way, he said. What? I managed. He stepped into my apartment without waiting for permission and closed the door behind him. The click sounded like a trap shutting. Give me one night, he said. One night and I'll delete everything. I'll disappear. You'll marry my dad. You'll get your safe life. His eyes dragged over me. All I need is one night. My stomach turned. No, I said, louder than I expected. Get out. Colin took a step closer. Aurora, leave, I snapped. He moved fast, grabbed my arm, yanked me toward him, breath hot with alcohol. His hand slid to my waist. He tried to kiss me. I turned my head and slapped him. The sound cracked through the room. My palms stung. Colin froze, blinking like the world had shifted. You will not touch me, I said, shaking but clear. Get out, now. His eyes darkened. You think you have a choice? I do, I said. Go. For a moment I thought he'd refuse. Then he laughed, short, bitter, and backed toward the door. Fine, he said. Keep your pride, but when it collapses, don't act surprised. He left, slamming the door so hard my wall frame rattled. I stood there, staring at the deadbolt like it might turn again on its own. Then my knees gave out. I slid down the wall onto the floor and sobbed until my throat hurt. And that's the part people don't understand when they ask later, why didn't you tell Peter right then? Because fear doesn't always look like screaming. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like a woman on her kitchen tiles, hugging her knees, trying to calculate which truth will destroy her slower. I didn't call Peter. I should have. I know I should have. But fear is a loud, persuasive voice when it's speaking in the language you learned as a child. I grew up without a father. My mom never said my dad's name with hatred. She said it with tiredness, like his absence was just another bill she had to pay. I learned early that the world doesn't step in just because something is unfair. If you want safety, you build it, quietly, carefully, alone. Peter had felt like safety. He was confident in a way men my age only pretended to be. He was wise without being condescending. He could make a room laugh with one dry comment, then turn around and ask me sincerely if I was okay. He didn't play games. He didn't disappear for days. He didn't make me feel like I had to earn basic respect. He was reliable. And when you've never had a father, when you've never had that steady presence that says, I'm here, I've got you, reliability feels like magic. I met Peter a year earlier at Hartwell Contemporary, the gallery where I worked. It was an opening night. Champagne, rich strangers, polite smiles, and Peter was the only man in the room who actually looked at the art like it mattered. He stood in front of a canvas for so long I finally asked if he needed help, and he said something so precise about the painting that I laughed out loud. He bought the piece quietly, signed the invoice, then looked up and asked me to dinner in the most undramatic, respectful way I'd ever been asked. On our first date, he told me the truth early. He was 46, divorced, and his ex-wife had cheated and lied for years. The lying was worse, he admitted. It makes you doubt your own brain. Peter was wealthy, real wealth, but what hooked me wasn't money. It was steadiness. He showed up. He listened. He made decisions without games. When my life got chaotic, he didn't panic. He made space for me to breathe. After months of that calm, he proposed on a rooftop with the city glittering behind him. I don't want to waste time, he said. Marry me. I said yes before the ring even settled on my finger, and that's when he asked me to meet his son. I walked into that first dinner with Colin determined to be kind, to be respectful, to be the woman who made Peter's life easier, not harder. Colin walked in wearing a clean smile and perfect manners. He hugged his dad, shook my hand, complimented the gallery when I told him where I worked. He said congratulations, in a tone that sounded sincere. I let myself relax. Then Peter got a work call and stepped out. The second the restaurant door swung shut behind him, Colin's face changed like someone dimmed a light. "You're very convincing," he said. "Excuse me?" I asked, confused. "The sweet thing," he said. "The innocent thing. My dad loves that." I swallowed. "Colin, I don't—" He leaned forward slightly. "Let's be honest," he said calmly. "Women don't date men 20 years older for the jokes." My cheeks went hot. "I love him." Colin's eyes flicked to my ring. "Sure." He said it the way people say sure when they're already writing their own story. "My dad has money," he continued, voice smooth, "and he's fragile even if he pretends he isn't. He's been lied to before, badly." His smile hardened. "If you're here for a payout, I'll prove it, and I'll make sure you're gone." I stared at him, shock turning into nausea. "You don't know me." "I don't need to," he said. "I know patterns." Peter came back and Colin turned warm again instantly, laughing, asking about dessert. I smiled and nodded and swallowed my fear because Peter looked so happy, and because I was terrified of becoming the woman who came between a father and his son. That's the trap I built for myself. I thought silence was kindness. Silence was permission. After that dinner, Colin inserted himself into our lives with smooth, perfect timing. He invited us to brunch. He texted Peter jokes. He showed up at Peter's house with a bottle of wine and a story that made Peter laugh. In front of his dad, Colin was charming and respectful, the kind of son any parent would brag about. But when Peter stepped away, when I was alone with Colin in the kitchen or the hallway, Colin's voice would sharpen. Little cuts. At brunch, while Peter was paying the bill, Colin leaned close and murmured, "I hope you're not expecting him to change his will for you." At Peter's house, when I complimented the art on his walls, Colin smiled and said in front of Peter, "Aurora has great taste." Then, the moment Peter walked into another room, he added quietly, "Too bad taste doesn't pay rent." Once, on the way back from looking at wedding venues, Peter stepped out of the car to take a call. Colin sat in the passenger seat beside me, calm as a surgeon. "You should pick a venue you can afford," he said. I stared. "Peter's paying." Colin smiled. "Exactly. His money, not yours." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Stop." "Why?" he asked, voice light. "Does the truth hurt?" Another time we were at my gallery. Peter had come by with coffee and ended up donating to a fundraising event, quietly, like he did everything important. The staff were giddy, whispering about him. I saw Colin watching from across the room, smile in place. When Peter went to talk to the director, Colin approached me with that polite expression and said, "You look good in your element." "Thank you," I said cautiously. His eyes dropped to my phone on the desk. "Be careful what you post," he murmured. "People like you don't realize how available you are." My skin crawled. "What does that mean?" Colin's smile didn't change. "Nothing. Just advice." He always walked away before I could respond, leaving me with a stomach full of dread and the awful knowledge that he was always thinking 2 steps ahead. I started to tense whenever Peter left the room. I started to avoid being alone with Colin. At dinners, I sat closer to Peter, as if his presence could shield me. My laughter became careful. My smile became thin. And of course, Peter noticed. The first time he asked, it was gentle. We were leaving a family brunch, walking to the car. Colin had hugged Peter goodbye and kissed my cheek like a dutiful son. The second Colin turned away, he whispered, "Enjoy your borrowed life." So quietly only I heard. My breath hitched. I stumbled slightly. Peter's hand tightened on mine. "Hey," he murmured. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I lied automatically. He studied my face. "Aurora." "I'm fine," I insisted. Peter didn't push, but I felt his attention on me like a weight. The second time he asked, it was sharper. We were at a suit fitting. The tailor was pinning fabric, and Peter was grinning at himself in the mirror playing groom. Colin stood behind him, hands in his pockets, smiling. "You look great, Dad," Colin said. Peter beamed. Don't I? Colin's eyes flicked to me. Aurora, you approve? I forced a smile. Yes, you look handsome. Colin stepped closer as if to adjust Peter's collar, and as he passed me, he murmured under his breath, "Make sure you practice your crying face. You'll need it." My throat tightened so fast I couldn't breathe. Peter caught my expression in the mirror. His smile faded. "Aurora," he said, turning. What did he say? Colin's face was pure innocence. "What?" he asked. Peter's gaze bounced between us. "Aurora, you just flinched." "I didn't." I lied too quickly. Peter frowned. "You did. You've been doing that. You're jumpy around him." "I'm tired," I said, forcing a laugh that sounded wrong even to me. "Wedding stress." Peter's eyes narrowed with concern. "Colin, if you're teasing her—" "I'm not," Colin said smoothly. "I love her. I'm excited for you both." Peter's shoulders loosened, relief in his face like a man accepting a comforting story. He kissed my forehead. "We'll talk later," he murmured. Later, in bed, Peter asked again. "You're not scared of him, right?" he said, trying to make it sound like a joke. My throat closed. "Of course not." Peter traced circles on my shoulder. "Colin can be blunt," he admitted. "But he's a good kid. If he's crossed a line, I want to know." There it was. Good kid, like a door already closing. I imagined telling him. I imagined Peter's face hardening, not at Colin, but at me, because believing me would mean rewriting everything he thought he knew about his son. It would mean admitting he'd raised someone capable of cruelty. I couldn't do it, so I stayed silent. And Colin learned that my silence was a weakness he could use. The week before the wedding, the pressure became unbearable. My dress hung in my closet like a secret I wasn't sure I deserved anymore. My mom called daily with questions about the ceremony. Maya sent me voice notes about playlist ideas. Vendors wanted final confirmations. Guests were already arriving. Peter was busy and radiant. He'd never looked so happy. He kept squeezing my hand and saying, "One more week, then you're mine." It sounded romantic then. Friday night, he left for his bachelor party. "Don't worry," he told me, brushing a kiss over my lips. "I'm coming home to you. Always." I watched him walk away and tried to believe my own life. Around midnight, the knock came. Colin came. The fake photos came. And the last week of my wedding became the first week of my nightmare. After he left, I didn't call Peter. I told myself Peter was drunk, that I should wait until morning, that I should gather my thoughts, that I should handle it calmly. I told myself the police would make a scandal, that neighbors would talk, that my mom would panic, that Peter would feel humiliated. Mostly I told myself that if I could just survive the night, I could fix everything later. Peter came home close to 4 a.m., drunk and grinning, smelling like cigars and celebration. "Aurora," he mumbled, stumbling into the bedroom. He pulled me into his arms like I was an anchor. "I'm the happiest man alive, marrying you. God, you're beautiful." I lay stiff beside him while he fell asleep in minutes, still smiling. I cried silently into my pillow and watched the ceiling until morning. At 8:12 a.m., Peter woke me with a scream. "What is this?" he shouted. I jerked upright. Peter stood at the foot of the bed, phone in his hand, face white with rage and hurt. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. He shoved the screen toward me. The photos filled my vision. "Peter, those are fake," I said instantly. "I swear to you, I didn't—" "Don't," he snapped, yanking the phone back. "Don't insult me." My hands shook. "Someone made them. Someone is trying to hurt us." Peter laughed, sharp, broken. "Someone made them? Aurora, do you hear yourself?" "Listen to me," I begged, climbing out of bed. "I was home, alone. I was waiting for you." "So you were home," he said, voice rising, "and meanwhile you're also dancing half naked in a bar?" He waved the phone. "Is that the story?" I flinched. "It's not me, it's my face on someone else's body, it's—" "I've lived this before," he roared. "The lies, the excuses, the gaslighting. Marianne did this for years." I'm not Marianne, I shouted back, desperation cracking through me. I'm me! Peter's eyes flashed at her name like it burned. Don't say her name. I swallowed hard, fighting panic. Your son? Peter froze. The room went brutally quiet. My son, he repeated, voice low. Tears spilled. The truth tasted like blood. Colin has been threatening me, I whispered. Since the first night we met, he thinks I'm with you for money. He's been saying things when you're not there. Last night he came here, drunk. He showed me the photos and told me he made them. He tried to kiss me. He said he'd tell you I tried to kiss him. Peter stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Then his face tightened into something hard and unfamiliar. That's insane, he said. It's true, I pleaded. Peter, I swear. He shook his head slowly. Colin is a good kid. The words landed like a verdict. You don't see him when you're not there, I sobbed. Peter's jaw clenched. Colin called me this morning, he said. He told me you were acting strange lately, that you've been emotional, that you've been hiding things. He swallowed, eyes shining. He sounded worried, like a son protecting his father. My stomach dropped. Colin had been laying tracks for weeks. You believe him? I whispered. Peter's voice broke, half fury, half pain. I believe what I can see. I stepped toward him. You're choosing to see a lie because it fits your fear. Peter flinched as if struck, then his face hardened again. Get out, he said. The room tilted. Peter, get out, he repeated louder. Pack your things and leave. My breath caught. You promised you'd protect me. Peter's eyes flickered, just for a second, then closed like a door. You should have thought about that before you humiliated me, he said. I packed in a haze, hands shaking, throat numb. Peter stood by the doorway like a judge, breathing hard. When I walked past him with my bag, he didn't reach for me. He didn't ask one more question. He didn't even look like he wanted to be wrong. Outside, the air tasted like cold metal. The next hours were the blur of consequences. The venue coordinator called, the florist texted, Peter's assistant emailed to confirm cancellation. My phone flooded with messages from friends and family. Are you okay? What happened? Is the wedding off? My mom showed up at my gallery crying, clutching her purse like a shield. Baby, tell me you're safe, she kept saying. Tell me you didn't do anything to deserve this. I wanted to scream at the word deserve. Maya arrived with fury in her eyes and took me home. She threw my suitcase in her car and said, You're staying with me. No argument. That night she sat on the floor beside me while I stared at nothing. Did you cheat? She asked quietly, because she was my best friend and she needed the truth like oxygen. I shook my head. No. She believed me instantly. Then we're going to burn the whole world down, she said. I almost laughed. Instead, I cried until I couldn't. 2 weeks passed. People whispered. My coworkers asked if I was okay in the careful tone people use when they've heard a story they don't fully believe. Clients looked at me like I was fragile or suspicious. I deleted my social media posts one by one, as if erasing them could erase what Colin had done with them. Peter didn't call. I told myself that meant he was ashamed, or angry, or both. Sometimes I hated him. Sometimes I missed him so badly it felt like my lungs were collapsing. Love is humiliating when it doesn't have anywhere to go. Then, one gray afternoon, I walked toward Maya's building and saw Colin waiting by the glass doors. He looked perfect again, hair neat, coat expensive, face calm, the ideal sun mask in place. My stomach turned. Go away, I said. Colin stepped closer. I just want to talk. You ruined my life, I said, voice shaking. His eyes softened. I didn't want it to go that far. I let out a bitter laugh. You planned it. Colin's jaw tightened. We can be together now, he said. My skin crawled. What? He nodded like this was reasonable. Dad's gone. We don't have to hide. We can leave the city, start over. He won't know. His voice dropped. Please, I did it because I was crazy in love with you. Anger flared hot and clean. "That's not love," I snapped. "That's ownership. You destroyed me and you're standing here asking for a prize." Colin's eyes flashed. "I did what I had to do." "No," I said, stepping closer until I could see the small vein pulsing at his temple. "You did what you wanted, and you used your father's trauma like a weapon." Colin's mouth tightened. "Don't talk to me like I'm a monster." "You are," I said, flat. His gaze turned colder. "You think anyone will believe you? The scandalous bride with the photos?" My heart hammered, but I forced my voice steady. "Get out of my way." Colin leaned in, voice a whisper. "You'll regret this." And in that moment, I made a choice. The day after Peter threw me out, I bought a tiny voice recorder and slipped it into my pocket. It felt dramatic. It felt paranoid. But I'd realized something brutal. Tears don't count as evidence. I pressed the button. "Say it again," I said softly, pretending I was fragile. "Why did you do it?" Colin blinked. "Do what?" "Why did you make those photos?" I asked. His expression softened into smugness. "Because you wouldn't look at me," he said. "Because you were going to be his. I couldn't breathe." "So you made them," I repeated. "Yes," he snapped. "I made them. I told you." "And you told him I tried to kiss you," I said. Colin shrugged. "It worked, didn't it?" My throat tightened, but I kept my face still. "You ruined the wedding." He smiled, sharp and satisfied. "I freed you." The recorder captured every syllable. "I'm done," I said, voice cold. "Leave, now." Colin's eyes narrowed. "You're not done with me." He walked away like he'd won something. I went upstairs shaking and listened back to the audio until my hands stopped trembling. Then I sent it to Peter with one message. "I don't want to hear from you anymore, but I am not a liar. Here's proof." I turned my phone face down and stared at the ceiling, waiting for the world to change. It did, just not the way I'd hoped. Peter came the next morning. Maya opened the door and blocked him instantly. "Absolutely not." Peter looked wrecked. Unshaven, eyes red, posture tense. He held his phone in his hand like it weighed 100 pounds. "I need to see Aurora," he said. "I'm not talking to him," I called from behind her. Peter's voice cracked. "Aurora, please." Maya didn't move. "Leave." Peter's jaw tightened. "Move." Something in his tone made my skin tighten. Maya lifted her chin, fearless. "Try me." I stepped forward anyway because hiding felt like letting him control the frame again. "What do you want?" I asked. Peter's eyes locked on mine, and for a second I saw the man I loved. Pain, regret, shock. "I listened," he said. His voice broke. "I listened over and over. Colin." He swallowed hard, like the truth was a physical object in his throat. "I didn't know." I felt tears push behind my eyes. "You didn't want to know," I whispered. Peter flinched. "You're right," he said, voice shaking. "I saw those photos and I was back in that marriage, back in lies. I panicked." He took a step forward. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Part of me wanted to fall into his arms and let the apology stitch me back together. But another part of me remembered his face when he said, "Get out." "You threw me away," I said quietly. "You didn't even hesitate." Peter's eyes shone. "I hate myself for it," he whispered. "Let me fix it." "There is no fixing," I said. His breathing quickened. "There is," he insisted. "We love each other. We can—" "No," I cut in sharper. "You loved me as long as I didn't challenge your fear. The moment your fear got poked, you chose the easiest story." Peter's face twisted, wounded. "Aurora?" "What did you think I was?" I demanded, voice cracking. "A decoration? A fantasy? Something you could replace the second it got messy?" Peter stepped closer again, eyes fever bright. "I can't lose you," he said. "You already did," I whispered. Something in him snapped. Not into rage exactly, but into a desperate intensity that felt dangerous. He leaned forward, voice low. You'll be mine anyway. Cold rushed through me. Maya moved instantly, shoving herself between us. Get out, she snapped. Now! Peter's gaze stayed locked on me, hungry and pleading at the same time. Aurora, he said, shaking, don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said, suddenly calm. You did. For a long beat, Peter looked like he might collapse. Then his face hardened. This isn't over, he muttered. Maya slammed the door in his face and locked it. My knees nearly gave out. I sank onto the couch and stared at my hands. I still wore the ring sometimes in my sleep, like my body didn't want to accept the loss. Maya crouched in front of me. We're moving, she said immediately. Today. I don't care what it costs. I nodded, throat tight. Because the truth I didn't want to admit was this. Colin had threatened me with Peter's disbelief. And he'd been right. Not because Peter didn't love me, but because Peter's love had a condition. It required me to fit inside his idea of safety. The moment I threatened that idea, by being human, by being accused, by being messy, he chose control over trust. Now he knew I was telling the truth. And he still looked at me like something that belonged to him. That was the moment the last illusion died. I took the ring off for the final time and set it on the table. The diamond caught the light like it was mocking me. I didn't know how long it would take to stop loving Peter. Love doesn't switch off like a lamp. It lingers, it aches, it argues with logic. But I knew I couldn't go back. When you grow up without a father, you spend your life searching for an adult shoulder to lean on. Peter had been that shoulder, then he proved it could be pulled away. So I straightened my spine and did what I'd learned as a child. I built my own safety, quietly, carefully, alone, until I was ready to let someone meet me halfway. And this time, if love came knocking, it would have to bring trust with it. Because I'd already survived one knock that tried to destroy me. I wasn't going to survive another by pretending it didn't happen.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.